Hey folks, so it's launch day for the drum tree, and it's launch day, if I didn't already say that, for the drum tree. Um, which, if you want to know more about the book and the overall marketing and all that, you can look at my website, catherinwolf.com. Um, what I've noticed in this whole process of editing and marketing and trying to get the word out there about the book is what's really important to me about the book. And I had a story to tell, right? So I told my story and I've been telling it. Um, and my point in getting it out there is to try to connect with readers. And it's been quite a process, much more than I ever expected, and will continue to be. And I am happy for all of you who are on this journey with me. I really appreciate that. We moved across the country about a year ago, a year and a couple months ago. And packing up a house that we lived in for 30 years, I found a lot of stuff. And one of them was the notes, my original notes for starting this book, dated 1999. I have a blog post that you can find on my website or Goodreads page about finding those notes and starting that book so long ago and what inspired me. I will say that over time, a lot has changed about the book. Some of the main characters' names changed, scenes went in, scenes came out. But what was real that has carried through are, of course, the tree, the drum tree, the drum, and the music and beat of the drum, and the characters, and what they mean to each other and what they mean to me. They mean a lot to me. Just wanted to make sure I got my notes in. So what it really comes down to, though, I mean, it's about the book, and it's about the story, and it's about the characters. All of that's true. But for me, it's really about trees. We have this beautiful planet here, and the trees and the algae and all of the plants on this world that are going through photosynthesis and creating the air we breathe they're vital. And we need to protect that, and we need to love this world that we live in. But there's more even to trees than that. They're grounded, they root, right? So that's what we want to do. We want to ground into this earth, and connect with the earth. And but trees also reach, right? So they reach into the sky. And I don't know if you've ever done this. I've done this, where you stand in a forest and you're surrounded by trees, and these trunks of trees are going up, and you stand in between the trunks and you look straight up, and you can see the canopy of leaves overhead. And then through the canopy of leaves you can see, well, first of all, the way they all connect to each other, right? Sorry, I keep saying right. But also the sky beyond. And part of the trees rooting, that is what's so important for trees, to me, but also the way that they respirate and they interact with our atmosphere, and also our homes, right? I said it again, to birds and insects and mammals. And anyway, point is, I love trees. So yeah, it's really kind of a love story for me. The drum tree, the book, the story that I wanted to tell. I had some previous readings that you can find on my website under video, or you can find on my Goodreads page that are from earlier in the book, when things are just getting started. What I wanted to do for you today is read just a couple little segments from the middle of the book, when the main characters, or the main teenage characters, there's lots of adult characters too, but the main teenage characters actually encounter the tree. So that's where I wanted to read today. And well, welcome to the drum tree. Here it is. Yeah, I suppose I should do that. There we go. There it is, the drum tree. So here is chapter 24, or part of chapter 24. Whew. The earth beat was silent. Dalen checked the westward arc of the sun overhead to orient himself. It's a circle, he said, indicating the curve of trees, or part of one. I think this is the north point. Let's go through right here. Stepping past Hallie and Jace, Dalen pushed through the supple lower branches of a young white pine, so like the tree that had held the drumstick when he met the fox yesterday. Nestled between two towering trees, it was their doorway, a gate in the trellis. Through the parted branches, they stepped into a broad clearing hemmed in by a glimmering wall of foliage and living wood. It was a different world, perfectly round. Hallie stood to Dalen's right, Jace to his left. A tree grew in the center of the circle. Mouths agape, the three could only stare. It was the most massive thing, living or constructed, that any of them had ever seen or imagined. The trunk was wider than Jace was tall, the branches, some spanning high into the sky, others curving low enough to be touched, could shade the entire school building and play yard in Deep Knoll. Sunlight streamed through the tips of the branches and pierced through the dense canopy to illuminate a magical world below. Hallie was the first to speak. Dalen, it's the tree, she squealed. The tree is real. As soon as the vibration of her voice rippled out, the earth beat came alive, this time so loud that Hallie and Jace heard it for the first time themselves. Their bodies vibrated with the power of the rhythm. In Dalen's hands, the drum hummed and pulsed, pulling him forward. He touched the woven twines that spanned from head to base. The drum wanted to go to the tree. He had no choice but to take it there. One step followed another until he was running, holding out the drum like an offering. Dalen fell to his knees near the base of the tree. Pulling the drum strap over his shoulder, he laid the drum into a bowl of exposed roots, each as massive in girth as the trunks of the trees they usually felled for boardwood. The roots wove around the tree in an intricate lattice, then disappeared into the earth to expand for miles in every direction. Hallie and Jace joined Dalen near the base of the tree. Eyes filled with tears, the three knelt in a row. They felt at once lifted and grasped, as if the earth and the sky were pulling at them, gathering them into the core of creation. When the joyous and terrible sound of the heartbeat filled them so completely that they felt they must scream or run, the sound banged to sudden silence once again. The drum, which had seemed to almost float, settled snugly amongst the roots of the tree. Jace, Dalen, and Hallie sat back on their heels as if released. Dalen touched his chest to make sure that his own heart was still beating. It pounded in silence. His ears rang, as if he might never hear again. Dazed, he stood, glad to be free of the weight of the drum. The tree had been calling to him for days now, maybe years, even months or even years. He stepped back from the trunk to see it, so he could see more of it. The tree was so enormous that he still couldn't take it all in. It looked at Dalen as if it held the mass of an entire forest in its trunk and limbs. Cut for boardwood, it was so large the entire town of Deep Knoll could be built from its flesh. 1,000 people could sleep on mattresses filled with the batting from the leaf canopy wavering overhead. So that's when they first meet the tree. But there's another character that finds them there, and her name is Lara. She comes from a different town. Jace and Hallie and Dalen come from Deep Knoll, an inland town to the north of the tree. And the girl that comes from the south, Lara, is from a coastal town called Rock Hill. And this is when they meet her. Or they've already met her or just become aware of her as she's entered the clearing from the south. And Hallie's trying to figure out what it is about the flute that might be important. So this is Hallie speaking. Well, maybe the flute is like the drum, part of the reason the tree brought us here. Maybe the tree was just waiting for Lara to get the flute. Just like this drum didn't come until Dalen got the drumstick. And remember how yesterday the drum wanted to go to the tree? like it was bringing Dalen all the way here so he would bring the drum home. It was the first time anyone had said aloud that the tree had brought each of them to this place for a purpose. Unexpectedly, Dalen grinned wide. "That's it," he exclaimed. "What?" Hallie asked. "The tree. It brought us here for the music. That must be it," Dalen said, as if suddenly making sense of a recurrent dream. He brought the drum in front of his belly and pulled the drumstick from the waistband of his pants. As soon as Dalen started to play again, rich tones pulsed from the head of the drum. His hand and the drumstick played the drum, but it was almost as if the instrument was playing itself. Lara was tired and thirsty beyond thought. All she wanted to do was eat and rest. But as soon as Dalen took up the beat, breath filled her lungs. She met Dalen's gaze. Together they played. The bass rhythm and the voice of the forest song found each other, and suddenly the music was whole. As soon as the beat and the voice connected, the entire clearing filled with song. The voice of the tree itself had come home, and it could sing again. The music surrounded them. The rushing sound of the water and wisp of the leafy breezes were part of the music. Bird song joined in. The sound was so loud, it penetrated deep inside each of them. Unable to stop herself, Hallie took flight into the song, dancing across the clearing in leaps and turns that defied the pull of the earth. If there were 10 of her or 100, she would be like a flock of swallows, grazing for dinner when the insects emerged at night. Jay stood in one place, but he expanded and contracted into the motion, as if the beat carried him earthward and the song lifted him up. He glistened in the morning heat, sweat dripping from his chest and brow, as his legs pressed into the earth and his muscular arms reached skyward. He knew there had never been music such as this in all the world. He smiled at Hallie sweeping by and at Lara as she played, but then closed his eyes just to be with himself, just Jace, dancing with the music that Lara and Dalen played with the flute and the drum and the tree. After what seemed like moments, but could have been hours, the vibration of the song penetrated the clearing so completely that the drum was able to slide from Dalen's hands. He stood it on the ground near his feet. The flute slipped from Lara's lips. The music continued. Lara laid the flute across the head of the drum. The two instruments were one, rhythm and melody, root and branch. Dalen and Lara had never seen each other before this day, but facing each other while the music played, they knew each other like Dalen knew the forest and Lara knew the sea and shore. They smiled deeply, then spun away from each other into the explosion of tree song. "This is my song," Dalen shouted to himself. He was here. He was part of this, like the unique voice of each part of the forest, each insect and bird that flitted and flew, buzzed and sang, each leaf on the tree, each tiny globe of dew on the tips of the leaves, each speck of life in this or any other place. This was Dalen's song, and he knew it. It sounded like this. I am, I am, I am. I am, do you hear me? I am, he shouted. The others joined his revelry. I am, Hallie and Lara cried out, hugging each other as they came together then moved apart. I am, Jay shouted at the top of his voice, arms raised overhead. I am, I am. They were words to the song that played and played. A voice seemed to ask, the voice of the tree perhaps, "You are what?" Laughing, they all shouted, "I am me." They turned in circles, calling out to each other, calling out to the tree. I am alive. I am a girl. I am a woman. I am a man. I am a person. I am life. We are life, they sang. Okay, well, I think that's enough of the drum tree for today. I hope that you, I don't know, get a chance to read it. I like it. It's fun, and it tells the story I wanted to tell. So I'm working now on a sequel that continues their adventure, and that will be out to beta readers in a little while, maybe a month or so, and then we'll see how that goes. If you do get a chance to read the book, pop up a review onto Facebook, not Facebook, what do you call it? Amazon or Goodreads, or yeah, that would be great. Anyway, thanks for listening. Thanks for checking in. I appreciate it. And the drum tree is ready today. It's out there in the world. Okay.